have one. Michelle's
I had
out
a Zoom
sick.
meeting at 6:30.
Are we ready?
I'm recording.
Okay, so we're doing causation versus effect-centered care today. So we're going to tell a story. We're going to look at this story and we're going to look at the two different ways that we can actually take care of a person having these different symptoms. I'm going to start with one easy story and then one really, really, really complex story. With the stories, our goal is to understand the views of looking at things. So we're either going to look at things as being controlled or being random. And that's what we want to understand is what's happening in our body random, or is it controlled and the byproduct of the control system working or not working correctly? So that's the viewpoint that we're going to look through. As always, I want to thank you for being here online and in person. It's a great joy for me to see people interacting this way because my want is for people to be able to help others. My want is for us to have a community where we can literally bring knowledge and hand it out and give it to somebody else and change their lives. Because you're not aware, or you may be, but there are so many people that come in here that literally when they come in, they say they've lost hope. They say nobody can help me. We hear this a lot. And I want you to understand that you just talking to them can give them hope. That you coming to them and letting them know there are other ways to take care of what's going on can give them hope. And hope can literally change somebody's life. So thank you for being here, both online and in person, because you don't even know how far what you're going to learn today, how many people you can change, how many people you can affect. With that being said, we're going to go into our first story. So our first story is going to entail, give me a name, Zachary. And Zachary loves Oregon. Never been, but he loves Oregon. He loves the idea of Oregon, the pictures. So he saves up. He flies out to Oregon. And it's in the summer, so it's warm. And everything's green and pretty, but he really loves the ocean. So Zachary's going to go down to the ocean. Zachary's going to start running around on the sand and throwing fish, starfish around and everything. And then he goes home. So be good. I'm going to put my feet in the ocean and walk down the sea or the ocean. And then about 10 minutes into doing this, he goes, oh, look at this pounding headache. And then he steps out of the ocean, sits down, and he goes, about 10 minutes later, it's gone. That was weird. And then he's running along again. And he goes, well, I'm going to get a little more adventurous. I'm going to wade out and see if I can see any sea creatures. So he's wading out into the ocean. And now he's out there, and in about a couple minutes, all of a sudden he's got another headache. What is going on here? So he gets up and he goes, I don't understand this. And he sits down again. And he pulls out his phone. And he goes, ChatGPT, can walking in cold water cause headaches? Yes, Zachary, it can cause headaches because it will literally change the temperature of your blood and can cause constriction in the blood vessels, and you get a headache. So if we look at it in what happened with his story, he just inadvertently figured out that him walking in and out of water was causing a headache. That is looking at a causational reason. But say we have somebody who has chronic headaches, and they find out the first time they go to their parent-in-law's house, they don't get headaches. And then they come back. And then they're like, oh, I had it. It must be altitude. So they move to their parents again. You know, the next holiday, 6 months later, goes away. Well, I don't understand this. And we start looking into their history, and we find out that it's an old house. And we find out, and even this can even happen in Colorado, and we find out that there was mold. But it was mitigated. But it was an old house. And we go through and we actually figure out that they have headaches due to mold exposure. Now, each of these things, I'm telling you what's causing the headache. But if we look at it through an effect-centered care, you have a headache. What do you do to get rid of a headache? Pop an aspirin, take a Tylenol,
Drink some water.
drink some water. What if the headache doesn't go away with that? Well, maybe it's a tumor. Because if you look at anything up on PubMed, it's always a tumor or you're dying. Just FYI. So just don't do it. It's just going to tell you you're dying. What about another fellow? And this guy, he's getting chronic headaches as well. And whenever he stays at his girlfriend's house, he doesn't. But whenever he stays at home, he does. This one is not as uncommon as you would think. And it's actually that he was getting gases from the septic line. Now, everybody goes, well, how is that possible? Your septic lines or your sewer lines have reliefs so that they won't blow up. And those gases can actually come up into your house. And people can get headaches, they can get autoimmune, they can get major dysfunctions because of these simple things that I'm talking about. But if we're doing cause-centered care, we go, well, I got it. Or effect-centered care, we're going to look at, well, I have this effect, so let's make it go away. But if we do cause, where we go, well, what's actually causing the problem? On all of the ones I explained to you, they were chemical and emotional, or chemical and physical stress. The water temperature was physical stress. The exposure to mold is chemical, and the exposure to methane or gases from the sewer line is chemical again. These all can cause headaches. These all can cause autoimmune, except for the temperature, aka walking in water. So what I want us to start looking at is what I'm dealing with really just a symptom of dehydration? If it's a headache, 9 times out of 10, if you're living at altitude here, it's dehydration. So you want to save yourself some time, energy, and money? Drink a bunch of water. I'll give you an easy way to know if you're drinking enough water.
Peeing.
Peeing color is one of the answers. But what you're going to find is if you drink most of your water between waking up and 3 hours after waking up, you're not going to be dehydrated. If you drink it after that, you will actually become dehydrated. So the first 3 hours in the morning, if you can consume 60 to 80% of your water, you are going to actually be hydrated. Because that's when you're going to flush all the toxins out and you're going to be okay. If you don't drink that water early in the morning, what's going to happen is your body's going to start stealing interstitial water to try to get rid of those toxins and it will dehydrate. So the best thing you can do is wake up. I'll just tell you what I do. I wake up and I drink 24 to 32 ounces within half an hour, and then another 24 to 32 within 2 hours, and then I'm good. And then the rest of the day, depending on how much you exercise, you can drink more or less. But that morning water is really important. So the more you drink in the morning, the healthier you're going to be. The more you drink during the day is good too, but the morning is the key for you. So now we're going to talk about Janie. And people go, you got some interesting names of people. I'm like, yes, because I can't use real names. So Janie's going to have a lot of very interesting symptoms. So Janie comes in and she has a rapid heart rate every time she stands up. But then she gets lightheaded. Janie also faints every once in a while. She also experiences irregular heart rate. So we put that pulse ox on her, and her heart rate goes 120, 80, 60, 100, and it's jumping all over the place. She also, when we take the light and put it in her eye, her pupil goes small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, small, big, while the light is in her eye. I need you to understand what's supposed to happen is if the light's in your eye, your pupil's supposed to go small and stay. Now, what does the pupil tell us? It tells us how healthy your nerve system is. If we put light in your eye and it constricts and just holds, it tells me you can turn on the relaxation or the parasympathetic nervous system correctly. And when you get stressed, it gets big. Tells me it works. But if it gets small and then starts fluctuating when we put light in your eye, that tells me your relaxation system is fatiguing. So if you want to see if your friends have problems, literally just take your phone light, put it in their eye and see if it sits there and fluctuates or if it just gets small. And do it in both eyes. And you will know neurologically if they're stable or not right away. If it fluctuates and gets big again, it means they are on the path to really bad problems because their nerve system cannot actually control the smooth muscles of the eye. That's scary. Next thing, nausea, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, difficulty swallowing, and going from diarrhea to constipation, to diarrhea to constipation. Now, you may think these things are all random, but they're all connected to the same thing.
How old is she?
34. Temperature regulation. Sometimes I'm really, really hot for no reason. Sometimes I'm really, really, really cold for no reason. And it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold outside. But when it's hot outside, I usually don't feel as hot usually, but I'm not able to manage my temperature. So literally she tells me I got to have a fleece and a tube top on at all times to know what I'm going to do. Because I walk into a room and I start beating sweat and then 5 minutes later I got to bundle up. Does this sound fun? This is hard. This is a hard life. Blurred vision, chronic headaches, and dehydration. Brain fog, and she can't sleep a wink. Tired all the time. We even gave her neurotransmitters. We gave her serotonin, which if your body's working correctly, will help you stay asleep through the night. So if you have a friend or family member who says, I can't sleep because I have to wake up and go pee, they're telling you they're serotonin deficient. That's literally what they're telling you. They're also going to be more prone to pain. They're also going to be prone to depression and postural difficulties. All because the right side of the brain, the serotonin, isn't being produced correctly. So let's look at this. She has all these symptoms. Now, if we're going to go after an effect, we would literally try to give you a drug for every single one of these. Mm-hmm. Or we would try to modify it for each one of these, which is scary because you got a lot of different things going on. And this happens to people all the time. Oh, well, you got a gut problem? You're going to the, give me the name of the gut.
Gastrointestinal.
Yeah. You got pupil issues, the ENT. You got blood pressure, the cardiologist. So we got all these different people. What I'm showing you is that you got all these different people. Yeah. So what we're talking about here is they get all these different people. We're going to look at, can you poop? Can you hear? Can you see? And you're going to a different doctor for each one of them. And the scary thing is, you think most of them talk?
No.
They're supposed to. They're supposed to, but most of them don't talk because they got certain time frames, right? And what I want you to understand here is this is how somebody ends up on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, multiple meds. The lady that I met, the most meds I've ever seen one single individual on was 38. Now, we all know the medication doesn't fix the problem, It just makes you feel better. Even diabetes. So let's look at diabetes. Let's say you have type 2, the easy one. What's going on with you is you are going to have chronic inflammation interfering with the receptor sites where insulin comes in, and then you're going to get your type 2 diabetes. 9 times out of 10, it's actually caused by having high triglycerides. If you have high triglycerides, that's why you have type 2 diabetes. Why does it go up? It goes up because your body is not absorbing it correctly, the sugars, and your liver actually takes the sugar and says, this is precious gold. We don't want to get rid of it. Let's turn it into something we can store, which is our triglycerides. The inflammation markers are the bad cholesterol, the LDL, the VLDL, that's inflammation markers. So if we can actually get you to become insulin sensitive, absorb the sugars correctly, inflammation comes down, guess what? Your type 2 diabetes can go away. This is all possible. But let's go back to this lady. She has all these different issues. Let's say she's going to 5 different doctors. How many meds do you think she's going to be on?
5. At least 5, if not more.
5 to 10. 5 to 10. So we got a consensus, we agree 5 to 10? Do you think any of those drugs have side effects?
Yes.
So all of them will have side effects. So now symptoms are going to start showing up from the medication she's taking because people understand this. When you go to your allopathic practitioner, and when I say that, that's your medical doctor or your DO, doctor of osteopathy. They treat symptoms and their job is to treat symptoms, and that's their job. Understand that. They're doing their job when they give you the drug to make the symptom go away. That's their job. They're not bad people, it's just that's how they're trained. So when they give you those and the symptom goes away, they go, good job, I did my job. I succeeded. Yep. There is nowhere in that medical interaction where they're going, let's stop and see if there's anything else going on. Let's stop, because they don't have enough time. For a lot of the people, that's what it'll come down to. Now let's look at what we found with this lady. What I want you to understand is everything that I just mentioned, and I'm going to say them all again. Rapid heart rate, fainting, blurred vision, nausea, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, blood pressure regulations, headaches, migraines, brain fog, insomnia is all caused by one issue. It's called dysautonomia. What does that mean? Dysfunction of the autonomic nerve system. Now, that's a nice broad term. That's like what fibromyalgia is to people now. But I want to tell you what it actually means. It means your vagus nerve is not working. Now, what's the vagus nerve? It literally means the great wanderer. It's the nerve that controls how you heal. So we have all these symptoms. And if you want to figure out if you or your friends' symptoms are related to vagal nerve function, you do one very simple test. Can they gag?
Can they gag?
Gag. If they can't gag, that nerve is not working, and it doesn't matter what drug you give them, they're not going to get better. Because their digestion system isn't going to work correctly, and you're not going to absorb it correctly. Because the vagus nerve controls digestion. The vagus nerve controls if any neurotransmitter is going to get from the gut to the brain. So literally, take your toothbrush and stick it in the back of your throat and see if you go. And if you do it, you can heal. And if you don't, every single one of these symptoms can be caused by that dysfunction.
Read those again.
Rapid heart rate, fainting, irregular heart rate, low blood pressure, high blood pressure, temperature dysregulation, nausea, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, swallowing, and bowel dysfunctions, constipation, diarrhea. Blurred vision, headaches, migraines, brain fog, insomnia, as well as anxiety and depression. So if you don't test that nerve, you can get on 5 to 10 meds. And I'm not getting better, doc. Why not? Because we're not looking at the system and how it's actually functioning. This one's a big one. It's an easy one to help people with. But just see, do you gag? That's literally all you need to do. If you don't gag, and then you put that pen light or that cell phone in front of your face, and the pupil goes small, big, we got big problems. It may not have turned into a disease yet, but we got big problems because you cannot literally heal. Now, I need you to understand the vagal nerve function controls your central mode or your central modal system. That means how you perceive the world, how happy or sad you are, and your perception of reality. It literally determines how much stimulation you're getting into it. If you want to go down this major vagal information, you can look up, what's his name? His last name is Porges's, and it's the polyvagal theory. It's not a small book. We're talking a couple hundred to a couple thousand pages. It's a heavy read, but it will literally explain to you how if your relaxation nerve is working correctly, you'll heal. So we've heard of sympathetic, parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is, besides the last 1/3 of your colon, vagus. The last 1/3 of your colon is from your sacrum. So what we want to do is we want to stimulate it. Now, I'm going to give you all an easy way to do it. That's what I teach everybody to do. It's going to get loud. So what we do is we gargle with water or not with water. And you know the little dangle in the back of your throat called your uvula? You go, oh, and you literally have it jump around. And you do that until your eyes water. Because the sensory aspect of the uvula is your glossopharyngeal, and the motor aspect of the gag is your vagus. If the glossopharyngeal is working correctly, you will start tearing, and then you keep doing it for 2 minutes, and you will get enough vagal function to actually activate that nerve. If you do this, you can literally turn these things back on, and you can literally watch this stuff start going away, as long as we don't have major neurodegeneration going. So how do we test? Do you gag? Do your pupils fluctuate? Then we got dysfunction. How do we help? Do the gargle. If that's not enough, come talk to me. I can assess if it's not a person that we take care of, but if it's somebody we take care of, I can teach them some other things as well. What I want you to understand here is that how you are functioning always has a cause. It is never random. Like I'll hear crazy things like, oh, your white blood cells are low. That's just who you are. I literally had a patient that was told that. And then we looked at her blood test and found out she had a parasitic infection. But this is what she'd been told for 20 years. So there's always an underlying cause. And it could be something as simple as the neurology that controls how you relax, which is specifically the vagus nerve, is not working correctly. Does anybody have any questions?
I was hoping I just had to go to Las Vegas.
You're hoping you just had to go to Las Vegas for the vagus nerve? We all wish it was easy, right? Now, when you're going to do the gargling, tell your family. And if you get really loud, your neighbors need to know. Because literally, I want you to gargle so loud that your family, everybody in the house knows. And your neighbors come by and go, is everything okay? That means you're doing it right. If your eyes do not water, you're not doing it right. That's literally the thing that tells you how well you're doing. I test this on everybody, and it lets me know why we'd be having issues. So I want to thank you all for being here. Please don't let a friend or family member go down the route where we know there's side effects when there's easy things we can test. There's easy things we can know, and hopefully you can give somebody this information on a plane, a train, a car ride, at the grocery store, and it changes their life. And if it's not enough, I'm always here for you. Thank you all for being here. Have a good night.